Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for part 2. There's another very important sign that I wanted to talk about, and I just want to thank Jeff Lewis for this. He had actually talked about the feast days that are coming up, which are Tish B'Av and Tu B'Av, but he also mentioned something very important over here that I didn't know about. And he mentioned that there's going to be a solar eclipse on September 2nd, and it's going to be followed by a lunar eclipse 2 weeks later. And you can see that mentioned right here as well when you look at the Earth sky, dates of lunar and solar eclipses in 2016. It mentions September 1st there's going to be an annular solar eclipse, and on the 16th there's going to be a penumbral lunar eclipse. And I just want to show you what an annular solar eclipse looks like. It looks like a wedding ring. It's when the moon goes in front of the sun, but it doesn't cover it completely, so it leaves a ring around the moon. Basically the sun is just a ring around the moon, and it looks like a wedding ring in the sky basically. And that's going to be a sign in the heavens on September 1st, which according to the Torah calendar that I had mentioned earlier, September 2nd and 3rd are going to be the Feast of Trumpets based on that calendar. And then the penumbral lunar eclipse, which comes 2 weeks later, would actually be on Sukkot, on the Feast of Sukkot, which would start on the 16th of September. The 16th and the 17th would be the first day of Sukkot. The eve of Sukkot would be the 15th of September, and then it starts on the 16th, and then you have a penumbral lunar eclipse. And I didn't pull that up to see what that looks like, so let me do that. Okay, this is an image of a penumbral eclipse. This is what it looks like before the eclipse and during the eclipse. And over here it says, in a lunar eclipse, the Earth's shadow falls on the moon. If the moon passes through the dark central shadow of the Earth, the umbra, a partial or total lunar eclipse takes place. If the moon only passes through the outer part of the shadow, the penumbra, a subtle penumbral eclipse occurs. And so this is a diagram illustrating what a penumbral eclipse is, and here's what that looks like. But the more interesting one is the annular eclipse, which takes place on September 1st. And like I said, according to the Torah calendar, the Feast of Trumpets actually starts on September 2nd. And if you look at it over here on the online planetarium, you can see what it looks like at that time. And again, you see Jupiter very close with the moon. You see Venus right here at that particular time of the eclipse, which this may also come into play with what's written in Genesis 49:10, which is another thing that I wanted to talk about, because when you read the prophecy, it says over here, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. And when you look at the sky planetarium, you see that Jupiter is still right around the feet of Leo at that time on September 2nd, and you see that Venus has just gone through the feet of Leo at that time, but it's still right around the feet of Leo. It hasn't gone into Virgo quite yet at this particular time, and the sun is in the constellation Leo on September 2nd. But something that I wanted to point out is when you think about this prophecy, another way to understand it is to actually put it in reverse, because it says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes. But if you look at that in reverse, it's actually saying that once Shiloh comes, then the scepter will have departed from the feet of Judah, and the lawgiver from between his feet. So when you look at it that way, this will have taken place by the time Shiloh comes. And this is just before the time that Jupiter will depart from view, because it's only visible in the sky till early September. And then you see that Venus has crossed through the feet of Leo at this time. But what I want to mention is something very important that takes place after that concerning the constellation Virgo, which I think that's very important as well. Because if you fast forward this to about the 15th of September, what you'll notice is that Venus at this point is actually right in the birth canal of Virgo. And I just want to show you something very important about the constellation Virgo. Okay, before I get into that, what I want to do is I actually want to go over Revelation 12 so we can have a better understanding of what's being said here. It says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in pain, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head, and his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne." And I'm just going to read this part right here. I'm not going to go through the rest of it. But I know a lot of people have interpreted this sign as occurring 3.5 years after the rapture. But what I want to present to you is that the possibility, and I'm just saying possibility because I don't want to add anything or take anything away from the book of Revelation. So I don't want to be emphatic about anything when it comes to the book of Revelation. I just want to present my thoughts on it, and these are just my thoughts. But when you look at this word caught up, it's actually the Greek word arpazo. It's the same word that's used for the rapture. It means to seize, carry off by force. It's the same word that's used in 1 Thessalonians 4:17, "Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air." Okay, so you see that the man-child is caught up to God and to his throne. And there's a parallel to this in the Old Testament that I want to show you about the man-child being born. So if you put in the word man-child, you'll see that it takes you to Isaiah 66. And the book of Isaiah, first, by the way, is considered to be like a mini Bible, because there's 66 books in the book of Isaiah, and there's 66 chapters in the book of Isaiah. There's 66 books in the entire Bible. And the book of Isaiah basically reads like a little mini Bible. It actually has two distinct parts to it. If you go to Isaiah 40, it reads like the beginning of the New Testament, because there's 39 books in the Old Testament, and then the New Testament begins with the 40th book, and the New Testament begins with John the Baptist crying in the wilderness. And then you see over here, when you go to Isaiah 40 verse 3, it says, the voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. This is exactly what John the Baptist said, which it talks about right in the beginning of the New Testament, which is the 40th book of the Bible. And then you see in the 40th chapter of Isaiah, it's talking about someone crying in the wilderness to prepare the way of the Lord. And there's just a lot of other parallels with the book of Isaiah and the entire Bible. And then when you get to the 66th chapter, of course 666 is a mark of the beast. And this is a parallel to the book of Revelation here. And this is where it talks about the man-child being born. So if you go to verse 6 of chapter 66, if you go to 666, it says, a voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that rendereth recompense to his enemies. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she delivered a man-child. Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, saith the Lord? Shall I cause to bring forth, but shut the womb, saith the Lord, saith thy God? Rejoice ye with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for her, rejoice with her, all ye that mourn for her, that ye may suck and be satisfied with the breasts of her consolations, that ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith the Lord, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck, ye shall be borne upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees, as one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Jerusalem. Okay, so this is referring to a holy nation being brought forth. This was not fulfilled in full in 1948 when Israel became a nation. This is a prophecy of the Lord's return. This is a prophecy of the redemption, and the nation that's being brought forth is a holy nation. And to find out who the holy nation that's being birthed is, you need to look at 1 Peter 2:9, where it says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of the darkness and into his marvelous light. So in Isaiah 66, we see that there is a holy nation that is being birthed. Because over here in verse 8 it says, who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. So this is a day when the nation will be born in one day, and it will be a holy nation as described over here. And when you continue to read this, it says, and when you see this, oh, I'm actually about out of time, so I'll continue with this in the next video.